Hi, I'm Scott Granville, and welcome to Blind Luck, the search for Harry Greb, the greatest boxer of all time. Really? Not Sugar Ray Robinson? Not Floyd Mayweather? Not Terence Crawford? No, we really believe that Harry Greb from Pittsburgh is the greatest of all time, and if we find his fight films, we can prove it, and we need you to jump on this amazing treasure hunt because his fight films are worth so much money, but it's more than that. The International Boxing Hall of Fame are just begging to have just a little snippet of one of his fights, whether it was with Gene Tunney, his wins against Tunney, Mickey Walker, his battles against Tiger Flowers. They're all out there. We're just trying to find them. So this is what part of the show is about, but also comparing old fighters with new fighters. That's the great thing about the show. It's a great, great debate because we believe the old fighters in many, many ways would beat today's fighters. Not all the time. We have great fighters today. We're going to talk about Terence Crawford and how great he is based on his amazing win against Canelo and all the great things that are happening in boxing today. So we just love the great all-time greats, and we're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about the Boxing Hall of Fame because every October it happens where they release the names of the possible inductees that happen every June in Canastota, New York. It's an amazing opportunity for all boxing fans to go down in the early part of June. And so this year, 2026, the upcoming year, we get to figure out who is going to be part of this. So today we're going to talk with our pal Brian Quish from out west. We talk to him all the time about incoming boxing fans, incoming boxing matches. And we're also going to talk about who gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. And you know what? It is an exciting weekend. So we're going to get in Brian right away. Brian, welcome to the show once again.
Thanks, Scott.
This is an opportunity to chat a little bit about, like I mentioned in the intro, about Terence Crawford, his greatness, the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and he will be obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, as well as Canelo, as we've mentioned many times. And of course, we're going to talk, and I'm going to tease you about who could possibly be in the Hall of Fame in 2026, because there's a couple of guys that are pretty significant in our relationship as boxing fans, because you're not a guest on the show. You're part of the show and have been from the beginning. Tell the fans, first of all, and the people that watch the show about your love of the sport. You've been around the boxing world and as a fan. Tell us about why you love the sport so much.
It started with my father. I actually, Wild World of Sports. That was the first time I was introduced into the boxing into the mid 80s, early 80s, I could say. And I'd sit down with him and simply watch fights. As an immigrant from Ireland, he loved the sport. So he introduced me and my brother to the sport. And whether it be the Hearns fights, the Hagler fights, Duran fights, that was our beginning of watching the sport on a regular basis, thanks to the Wide World of Sports.
Absolutely. A lot of people like yourself, myself. I was slightly older than you, so I go back maybe a decade before your coverage and your love of the sport. So a lot of people like us get attracted to not only the participants and the competition, because you're an ongoing athlete like myself. Spent pretty much our entire years on this planet playing sports and watching it and whatnot. And boxing is so unique in my opinion. And it's a basis of, in a lot of ways, this show, that it's different than other sports. We see hockey players get bigger, stronger, faster. We've seen that in the NBA and the NFL. But in boxing, it seems to me, in my opinion, different, because the boxing weight classes, of course, helps. But I believe, and I've always believed, and you know this, that the old guys can do better things than the new guys based on their toughness, based on today's fighters didn't have to go through, the depression and the hunger that the old fighters have. What's your opinion based on what you've seen and what the coverage and not coverage so much as your fanship over the years, analyzing these fighters from when you started watching?
Well, it's gone through some tumultuous times, as you know, some ups and downs due to the promotion side to the business. But as you know, the boxers, especially the great stories from some of the international countries, Manny Pacquiao comes to mind right away. Their personal stories have never changed, whether it be the Depression era for a lot of you American fighters or British fighters, the First World War, Second World War, and then, of course, moving forward to, the 70s, 80s onwards. It's still the same sport it's been for centuries. It's just who comes and goes behind the scenes has kind of changed a little bit, but it's never wavered my love of the sport.
No, absolutely. I mean, they say there's some people that might say that boxing is dead. You hear that all the time, and it's absolute BS because there's constant overflow of new fighters and new generations of fighters, and that'll never change. Like you said, Manny Pacquiao, we've mentioned it many times. What a perfect example of somebody from rags to riches. That story is incredible, and you hear those stories throughout the history of our sport. And it showcases the inner strength of these fighters to be able to do what they've done. And there are a lot of examples today, and Manny is probably the best example. But back in the day, there was a lot more struggle, in my opinion, in the society back in the 20s and 30s that made them harder. It made them stronger. It made them fitter, and they had to fight. Whereas guys like Shakur Stevenson today would fight once a year, and his incredible skill level would be so much more enhanced, in my opinion. What do you think if he fought like 5 or 6 times a year?
Oh, for sure. It's interesting. I was looking at the correlation between what countries, produce and what regions produce the best fighters. It really comes down to the standard of living in the certain countries we're talking about. Right. And not to get outside boxing, but, if you look at a lot of the poor nations a century and change ago, my parents being from Ireland, the priesthood, the Catholic Church was a way to get out of poverty. Same thing as boxing, no different. So as countries, standard of living increases, you basically see a little bit less boxers coming from them because they didn't have to fight for their supper. You know that very well. And you even go back. So if you talk American history, the Depression, that's what fueled a lot of these fighters. To get out of the ghettos, to get out of depression, get out of poverty. So that's not always the case, we know, thank God. But it's a heck of a fire to start your fuel with.
Yeah, no question. It is the never-ending story of the sport of boxing, and that's why it is the one sport that Hollywood has jumped on, and it's the reason why, as you know, the reason why I wrote Blind Luck was the love affair that Hollywood has always had for the rags to riches stories. And there's no other rags to riches stories better than boxing stories. And it's been proven. There's been over like close to 25, 30 Academy Awards given out. And our belief has always been that if they're given out to amazing stories, then the one that's most amazing, in my opinion, was Harry Greb's story. And Hollywood kind of forgot it. It's kind of the reason why we all started this whole idea that it's kind of a romantic story that we were on a treasure hunt looking for his film. But he's, in a lot of ways, been missing from history. And from what we've seen and what we've done in a short amount of time with this show is that there are millions of people out there that do know who he is and are looking and are trying, and we're trying our best to engage not the boxing fan. You and I love this yarn. It's a great story, right? But it's not about you and I. We're going to love any boxing story or any good story because we know about it. It's the reason why it's the reason why Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard transcended the sport. And it was the people that didn't care about boxing that went to those. This is what we're trying to do with this. The story is get people that don't like boxing or wouldn't think to have a Friday night to sit down and watch a boxing match, but they love a good yarn and they love a good story of a treasure hunt. So we believe the more we talk about it, the more people will go, oh, that's a great idea. And
everyone loves the hero.
Well, we believe, as you know, that it might change the way people look at the sport. Yeah, there's a lot of historians. Now, you know this. We've been dealing with this for a long time. And off the top, we mentioned about the International Boxing Hall of Fame. we've spent so many years down there dealing with the best historians in the world. So we're not talking shit about this. This is information in history that we've been doing for a long time. Some of the best in the world. And I'll just show you, just because we have a lot of little props here, but that's Burt Sugar's autograph, and these are his cigars. It's the reason why I have a fedora a lot of times, wearing it backwards, because he's a guy that everybody in the boxing world knows, but he really helped in developing so many great ideas for the Harry Greb story by researching with him, by him helping. The boxing world has helped everybody and us tell this story. And that's what we're trying to do now, is get people to learn a little bit more about who this guy is and how great. And part of it is getting the Boxing Hall of Fame involved, because they're really the, them and the Ring magazine are so important to our history. So what do you think about when we talk about, I'm going to give you a couple hints about some of the fighters that could possibly be in 2026, the first ballot Hall of Famers. And because you and I have had a history, for the people that are watching, of going around, not so much traveling the world, but definitely traveling around to find great fights. So we've been to Dallas for the Pacquiao Margarito fight, Triple G and Canelo. These are in a lot of ways historic fights that we've been able to together watch and love. So I think I'm going to tell you right now that one of the guys that is up for induction in 2026 is our friend and our guy, Triple G.
Yes,
Triple G,
as he should be.
Yeah, as he should be. So this is the first year. I just announced, yes, we went to the first Canelo Triple G fight in Vegas. Tell me how, years later, how you felt about that, and how, I know you've been to a lot of different sporting events from different sports. I know you're a big Hurley fan with your hat, and you're a huge rugby fan. But tell me what you think, how that fight affected you as a boxing fan, and where do you put that in your top 10 sporting events that you've been to?
Oh, I put in the top 5, no question. I also the Eubanks and Steve Collins fight. I just want to throw that in. That's one of my favorite fights of all time. I was in Dublin at the time for that fight, and it was a fight that changed a lot of the boxing fans for that particular country and the English-Irish battle, so to speak. And Chris Eubanks, at the end of it, you've seen him interviewed many times. He said it was one of the fights that changed his career, because he did come in. He came in assuming. So he came in assuming that he was underestimating his partner. Yeah. The entrance, the motorbike, the whole shebang. If I fast forward to the Canelo fight, top 5 sporting events, no question. Been to some great rugby matches, hurling, as you know, a couple of U.S. Open, golf, whatnot. So, and the Masters have been to. It's in the top 5 without question. And it's amazing because, depending on who you were cheering for, could you smell a trilogy right away?
Right.
That was without question top 5 sporting events I've ever been to, and it could have been a 15-rounder.
Oh, for sure. Now, the thing that I was amazed more than anything, I think, because I spent a week before that fight in California. And whenever any taxi driver or Uber driver, hey, what are you in town for? I'd always mention the fight. Almost everybody were with Triple G. It's the only fight in Mexican history, I think, I could be wrong about this, it's a great debate and great conversation piece, that we were there. And how many people were there? 30,000 people, right? In the stadium. It was less than that, maybe 27 or something.
Yeah.
Half the crowd were for Triple G, but 90% of the crowd were Mexican.
Yeah.
It was the most.
They knew his style. They knew his style.
He was very calculated, wasn't he? Triple G,
he did.
In calling it Mexican style.
Yeah.
And having the Mexican fans love him.
Yeah. He was playing to the audience, no question.
And his style, oh boy, his style did that for him, but so did everything that he said. I thought his marketing of himself
That's what it was. Marketing.
was incredible. The way
Brilliant.
he talked in almost broken English. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, he's a really cute man that
Mm-hmm.
destroys people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why Triple G is so important. And wow, he hasn't been out of the game very long for
Mm-hmm.
him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, it tells me that he will get in, but we'll see. He's one of the three fighters that are first ballot Hall of Famer attempts to get in. So he's not. So it's so funny. I'll go to number 3 in order. So number 2, and I'll do this for a reason. Number 2 is Vernon Forrest,
Interesting.
the welterweight champion
Yeah.
who basically dominated Shane Mosley,
Yeah.
which was an incredible. I think he fought him twice and dominated Shane Mosley, and died in incredibly terrible way. Was murdered
Mm-hmm.
in Florida, I believe it was in Florida, and he
Mm-hmm.
ended up. His record was 41-3, one no contest, and he had 29 KOs. For the record, Triple G was 42-1 with 37 KOs. So Vernon Forrest, do you remember watching him fight? Do you know much about him? I watched him quite a bit during his heyday. He was an excellent fighter.
I saw a couple of his fights. Yeah. Great footwork, very elusive,
Yeah.
and could take a punch.
Yeah.
Way to put it.
Yeah. No, he was a great fighter, and I'm really glad that his name was on the ballot. And I wish his family all the best in this next few months, because they'll probably be a little nervous, but I think his resume is pretty strong. So the third guy, who's first time on the ballot, and you kind of stole my thunder, and I love it that you stole my thunder. But of course, it's Stevie Collins,
I
the
didn't
Celtic
know.
Warrior.
I
Yeah,
didn't know. Wow.
isn't
Oh,
that
wow.
cool?
Okay. Right. And
So how do you
that's
feel about
fantastic.
that?
Oh, just over the moon. Like, that's in my top 5 sporting events. And I was
Yeah,
actually not at the event. I was at my uncle's pub, and the particular pub I was at was just full of boxing fans. And it lifted the nation's spirits, so to speak, because Eubanks was the cockiest fighter in the game at the time. Some would say the cockiest fighter. And Collins came in, and he was wearing a Walkman, and he had his hood on. He was in a trance.
right. That's right.
And as a result of it, in post fight interviews, Eubanks said, like, I was scared after I walked up to him and I saw him from a couple feet away. He said, I wasn't fighting a boxer. He said, I was fighting a Celtic warrior. Yeah. So good on him.
Yes.
From North Dublin. I used to live in Cabra, not too far from it. So I know the boxing gym area that he used to train at and fight at. His son came through the ranks too. So that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. So good surprise. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I wanted to surprise you because, and then when you brought it up, it's like, oh, this is perfect, because it really did lift the nation. Ireland is, I mean, with guys like Barry McGuigan and Stevie Collins, the heart and soul of boxing.
Frampton. Don't forget Frampton, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And Carl still does excellent commentary. He's got that unique voice, eh? If you hear Carl Frampton's voice doing boxing commentary, he's got the classic Irish, and he's very high pitched in his voice. So he's very, very recognizable, and a great little fighter, wasn't he? Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. Very distinctive. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the three. And of course, there's just so you know, of course, there's all old timers, and there are other categories that we'll get into in another time, in another show, as we build up the Boxing Hall of Fame, because it's sometime in late December that we find out the actual people that have been inducted. And then, of course, this year, in 2026, it's June 11th. It starts. It's always in Canastota, New York, of course, the small town of Carmen Basilio and Billy Backus. That's kind of why it's there. So it's a great weekend for anybody that wants to go to the Boxing Hall of Fame. I'm telling you, it is worth it, because in most sports Hall of Fames, I've only been to the boxing one. So, but the truth is that most of the other Hall of Fames don't allow you to have access to the fighters and or the sporting elite in the
Elite.
baseball and
Absolutely.
football. But
Yeah.
in boxing, it's different. There are times when you can actually have interaction one on one with your boxing heroes, and I can just name just a ton of them: Barry McGuigan, Carlos Zarate, Carmen Basilio, even Marvin Hagler. Guys that holy jumpins. That make you shake and quake when you just think their names. So that's what makes the Hall of Fame such an important weekend. So yeah,
Wonderful. Great news.
yeah, and there you go. We got three incredibly great fighters that who knows if they'll get in on their first. I would assume that Triple G will and that Stevie Collins will. I think they all three might. We'll see, and we'll talk again. But hey, listen, you're a world traveler yourself, right? I mean, last time we chatted with you, you were over in Ireland,
Yeah.
watching sports and doing the family thing, which is fantastic. Now you're going to Portugal and Spain. Wow, that's
Yep.
pretty cool.
Correct.
They love their boxing there. You never know. Harry Greb's missing films could be somewhere in Portugal and Spain. Are you looking for them?
I'll be trying my best. It all depends on my per diem.
There you go. Absolutely.
So, yeah, no, it could be with a flamenco dancer.
There you go.
But yeah, no, heading over there and might be heading to a Real Madrid match.
Oh, nice.
But we're waiting to see if that's going to happen. But yeah, going to be over there as well. But yeah, January starts. You mentioned the hat I'm wearing. It's GAA for Limerick.
Yes.
Athletic Association. I'm a big hurling fan. So the rugby Six Nations starts in February. So be on that as well. I'm back over that way as well. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit. Tell us about your love of hurling. It's a sport that a lot of North Americans don't know enough about because it is incredible.
Well, I guess if I was to give you one line, it's the fastest game on grass. Simple as that. It's played by amateurs. There's so many incredible points. Limerick, specifically, where my family's from, and they hadn't won since '73, and then they've won 4 of the last 6. Yeah, they were essentially a dynasty, and again, everyone goes to work the next day. It's incredible. It is the sport that basically is the birth of ice hockey. If you go to any historians who know their stuff about ice hockey was invented by the Irish immigrants playing on a frozen pond in Eastern Canada, and hurling was the game. So as a result of it, there's words like puck, and puck fada is Irish for the long ball, and puck fada, well, that's where the word puck comes from. Okay. It's deeply history rooted. Ice hockey takes its birth from hurling. Now it's on grass versus ice. It's very aerial. You can see a 70-meter pass, and the gentleman leaps up, catches it while he's being assaulted by 3 or 4 other individuals, which shillelaghs, as some people call them, but they're hurley sticks. And it's a combination of unbelievable cardio and physicality and hand-eye coordination. Those 3 things right there.
And they're amateurs. And they're amateurs.
They're teachers. They're mechanics. And they train 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 6, 7, and then they play for their county. So yeah, love it, absolutely love it.
Well,
yeah,
it's
the
love.
Like boxing. It's tough.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's the love of sport in Ireland, because you know the story, and I'll tell the people watching that I covered ice hockey in Ireland when I was doing a show for Sportsnet called Slapstick, and the men's national team were made up of mechanics, plumbers, guys that just love the sport like no one else. And it just shows you the passion that Ireland takes. And especially if you're one of them, you are an absolute hero for life, right? And that's why guys like we mentioned, Stevie Collins, will always be a hero because of what he's done to represent the country. And I like to, I'll point out about the Stevie Collins thing that I love more than anything was the arrogance of his opponent.
Oh yeah.
And how they switched and they became such good friends. And if you ever hear any conversation about that man, it's always with they're the best of friends today. Boxing is such a weird thing, right? Remember the Barrera versus what's his name? Oh, geez, now I can't even think of the guy's name. Eric, I'm going to have to cut this out because I can't even remember his name. Barrera versus.
Glad you can cut it out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut it out. I don't know how to
That's
cut it out. Anyway, just lost my thought there. But it's about rivalries, right? I mean, when you have an ability to love your opponent afterwards, after an incredible, what was it, 12-round war, and then go from this is a guy that I want to kill, this is a guy I want to be a brother with. It's what makes the sport of boxing incredible for me. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. Yep. You'll
Yeah.
see the likes of Triple G and Canelo. I'm sure they'll be great friends.
Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, okay. So let's wrap up we've been doing this talking about for 25 minutes or so. So let's wrap up the show, and we can maybe talk a little bit before we do about what you believe and where you think a guy like Bud Crawford, based on what he did with Canelo in his recent amazing fight, where you would put him in the overall pantheon of the sport. A lot of people have put him, they even say that he might be number one. Thought Mayweather was a year ago. So there's always that belief that you have to kind of wait 5 or 6 years, I believe, after they've retired before you really can talk about their overall greatness. But it was a great win for Crawford. So tell me what you thought about the fight itself and analyze that a little bit.
Well, before I get into the fight, it's interesting. If you look at where he sits now, he's a champ in five weight divisions, right? So he's joined the elite. He's joined Greb. Well, he joined Manny. He's joined Henry Armstrong and Duran in that category. So that right there is, your criteria for the Hall of Fame and where he sits in the conversation. And then for the fight itself, if I was to give you a couple of words, a chess match. It was an absolute physical chess match. So it was the first couple of rounds, as you know, being the switch hitter, Crawford played the southpaw and he worked his jab brilliantly. Yeah. So he went as Canelo kept going for the body. He kept, keeping his distance. And then he score upstairs. The moment that Canelo would go for the body, he'd go upstairs and get a couple of points on him. And that was the first 2-3 rounds, as you know, feeling out rounds. And then the middle rounds, he dictated the pace. Simple as that. He just dictated the pace. He used his 4-inch reach advantage, big time.
Yes.
Yeah. It seems like, in those middle rounds, 3 through 6, Canelo just followed Crawford around. Best way to put it. That's the way I could see it. He
didn't cut off the ring.
Not at all. He kept chasing him. He was plotting. Unfortunately, Canelo was plotting a lot. And Canelo just followed Crawford around the ring. I thought his footwork laterally was fantastic. Yeah. That's the key, is basically Canelo was getting a little confused by it. When the footwork was superior in his overall spatial awareness, like his distance, body wise, to use the reach, was immaculate. Like he won the range game very early.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things when I think back, it's the spatial awareness he had and knowing his limitations. And I think, he got hit early a few times from Canelo and went, that's it. I thought this was supposed to be super heavy. I thought I was going to get knocked down with a few of these punches. And he held them, going up to 168, he handled them perfectly.
Yes.
And I think he also was part of it is he worked on his cardio, as in bringing down Canelo's cardio by his unbelievable footwork. So that's the first couple of things that come to mind. The 6th round, as you know, that's when Crawford's left came on and he opened up Canelo's right eye. So that changed, of course, Canelo's approach, as we all know. So that was, for me, a big turning point in the fight right there. Even though you could tell, as a result of the great footwork by Crawford, he had figured Canelo out before the fight started. He had a great plan, and he didn't waver from it.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't waver, did he? He didn't have to make that many adjustments, right?
No.
So he's known. He's certainly known for his ability to do that, but he didn't really need to. because he controlled it. So it was a masterclass. But the one thing we will say, and based on how we have to do every analysis and criteria for the greatness, sure, he's an all-time great. I do put him up there with everyone that you mentioned as one of the top guys. I don't know where I would put him overall. But the one thing that has to be mentioned is Canelo was not at his prime. This was not a prime Canelo.
No.
And Canelo is the only, I believe, Hall of Famer that he's actually beat. And so that has to be taken into consideration, because Harry Greb fought 15 and beat 15. That's a criteria that you have to get up to. But I would say that Bud Crawford is easily one of the top welterweights of all time, and he's right up there along with, I think, Floyd Mayweather. Geez, I'm from Belleville, aren't I? Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Okay, so who would win in a fight between Bud Crawford and Floyd Crawford?
So I'll take the Bud.
Yeah, I'll take the Bud too.
But back to the fight, what I noticed, just to kind of get into the final rounds, is the 9th round. I was noticing that, as Canelo was getting, he was tired. He just looked tired, and he was a lot of single shots, whereas in Crawford had 2 or 3 punch combinations at that stage, because he had worked the ring so well that he had Canelo, unfortunately, a little exhausted. And the legend that Canelo is, I don't say that softly, but he had him exhausted. And he literally would just get in and out 2-3 punch combinations, whereas Canelo was coming with a single shot in those championship rounds. So just to wrap it up, like, you think of it, it's a long ways from the unfortunate, like the tragedy, the bullet in the head. Like, you think about from that to where he is after that fight, an unbelievable transgression and ability to rise from the tragedy. And to dominate one of the best all-time fighters in Canelo. It was a 2-3 rounds. Over to you, but I think Canelo had, even though the scorecard had it so much closer, I think Canelo maybe had 3 to 4 rounds, whereas they were his, but it was Crawford's the rest of the fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was dominating, and I loved it for Bud. You're right about the distances. He did everything right.
And stayed out of harm's way as much as possible.
He's an expert. Where do you see him going from here?
Well, as I post interview, he says he'll speak to his team. Who knows? So that's really over to him, because same thing as Canelo. No spring chicken. As a result of it, he hasn't, as you mentioned, fought a lot of Hall of Famers. So maybe he wants a few more on his card, but that's a risky game to play, right? If you want to tarnish your legacy. So I think it's a 50-50 where he could go from here, because you're not going to get much higher than this in his career. He's not going to, right?
No. And there's certainly a lot of bulls at 168 with Benavidez. Well, Benavidez is 175 now, but there are a lot of big guys, and Bud isn't a big lad. And Canelo is not a big 168 pounder. No, he's one of the smallest middleweights out there because of his size. So that had to be taken into consideration. And also the fact that he was slightly behind his prime, but it is what it is. You have to fight the fights when they're given, and when and Bud did that, and look what he did. It was a master class, and it will be what will put him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. And hopefully, like we've mentioned, the guys that are being inducted this possibly this year, Triple G, Vernon Forrest, and of course Stevie Collins. We'll see over the next few months whether or not they will rise to the top. But the fact that they're in there now as a possibility, that says good things for all 3 of those fighters. And of course, Bud and Canelo have already been there, and that's great. And he's going to join the likes of a guy you might know that we're looking for his films, and he's actually going to show up. Watch this.
Hey folks, Harry Greb here. You didn't know all my films have gone missing in yet? Come on, get off your butt and go out to Grandma's attic. Who knows, the films could be down or upper. Somebody has my films. Come on.
Ah, yes, somebody has his films. And now it is time for trivia with Brian Quish. Okay, Brian, we're going to unload John L. Sullivan. And inside is a trivia question. Now, it's just your belief. Bud Crawford versus Jose Napoles. Now, he was the welterweight champion in the 1970s. Who would win that fight in 30 seconds?
Oh, I'd say Napoles.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Napoles, of course, a Cuban that fought out of Mexico and was an amazing welterweight champion. I'm giving it to Bud Crawford in a close fight. I think they're both tactically amazing. I'm going to give it to Bud because I just think that he overall would have the skill, possibly. But you know what? These are two amazing fighters. And that was thanks, John L. And boy, you know what? I'm going to have to talk to John L. after we have this so that my brain will work properly because it's not working properly right now because, again, halfway through the show, I couldn't even think of Marco Antonio Barrera and his El Terrible. I just can't think of his name. But that's a perfect example of the two guys that hated each other when they fought each other. They fought 3 times. And geez, it's what happens when you get old like me. I can't come up with names. They hated each other, and then now they love each other. It's a love affair of the sport of boxing where you can, like Stevie Collins and Chris Eubank, start it like this and end in a hug. And that's how we're going to end today's show, with a hug to you. Oh, wait, you're over here. Well, I can't get at you. But I really appreciate you coming on again, Brian. Your information and your knowledge and your passion for the sport is something that this show really needs, and we really respect it, and thank you.
Anytime, Scott. Have a good one.
Absolutely. And you know what? Enjoy your time over in Spain and Portugal looking for the lost films of Harry Greb.
I'll do my best.
Have a great time. And yes,
all the best.
We'll talk to you very soon, and we can wait to get to the Boxing Hall of Fame with Brian, because he has been salivating for so many years to get there, and it's going to be really exciting. And it is an awesome opportunity, like we mentioned, for any boxing fan to get to know some of the history. And that's what this show is all about. So please follow, like, and subscribe and do all that stuff. But let's find Harry Greb's missing fight films. Together, we can do it. We have the internet. Jim Jacobs didn't, but we do. So follow us along for the ride for the amazing treasure hunt for the great Harry Greb. We'll see you next time.